The galaxy was vast, filled with countless stars, planets and mighty empires. Aliens had built great fleets, high councils, and armies that stretched across light years. They thought of themselves as rulers of the stars. While smaller worlds were ignored, Earth was one of those ignored worlds. The humans lived on their blue planet, circling a yellow sun. They had only a few colonies and some trade ships. To the galaxy, they looked like children playing with fire. The empires laughed at Earth and gave no real notice. In councils where decisions were made, Earth's voice was soft and quickly forgotten. Alien diplomats often mocked Earth. Some called humans the noisy species, others called them dreamers with no teeth. To most, Earth was not a threat. They were allowed into trade routes, but never trusted with real power. The galaxy believed Earth would stay small forever. But on Earth, silence was growing. There were whispers inside hidden bases, movements inside underground halls. Scientists worked late at night. Soldiers trained in secret, yet from the outside, Earth looked calm. No parades, no new fleets shone in the stars, only silence in alien bars and stations. Laughter often followed the name of Earth. Why waste time with humans? A Lornak captain said, raising his glass. They are nothing. Weak bones with loud mouths. Others joined the laughter, mocking Earth as if it was a joke that never ended. Still, not everyone laughed. Some alien scouts had noticed strange signals around the edge of Sol system. A few freighters had gone missing near human borders. Rumors spread of lights moving silently in the dark. But when these reports reached the great empires, they dismissed them. It is nothing, said a council member. Earth cannot build anything worth notice. This ignorance became Earth's shield. While the galaxy turned its eyes to wars and riches, Earth worked in silence. Humans had always been underestimated, and they knew it. They used that underestimation like a weapon, hiding their strength until the right moment. Inside mountain bunkers, deep in the oceans, and far in orbit, work never stopped. Engineers designed ships like no one had seen before, weapons that carried power the galaxy had laughed at. Railguns, particle cannons, and stealth drives. Thousands of workers vanished into secret projects. Never seen again, the world above them lived as normal, unaware of what was coming. Leaders of Earth met in hidden rooms. Their words were sharp and serious. They do not respect us, one said. They do not fear us, another replied. Then let them learn, the final voice whispered. There was no joy, only cold resolve. Humanity had chosen its path. Meanwhile, the galaxy continued with arrogance. Wars raged between old empires. Alliances broke and formed again. All the while, Earth was not even mentioned. To the galaxy, Earth was still a weak child sitting quietly. To humans, the galaxy was blind, and blindness was a gift. One alien merchant once said, "The humans are silent now. They barked before, but now they hide," the others laughed. Not knowing that silence was not weakness, silence was the sound of preparation. Time passed, years flowed like rivers. The galaxy forgot Earth more and more, but inside human hearts a fire was burning. A fire that remembered every insult, every mockery, every council seat where they were ignored. Humans carried long memories, and in those memories lay their future. On Earth's night skies, hidden satellites aligned. Their signals bounced from orbit to orbit, carrying orders. Thousands of screens lit up in secret stations. Men and women in uniform stood ready. They spoke no words, but their eyes burned with purpose. In the galaxy, no one noticed, no one cared, and that was the greatest mistake of all, because the ignored world was no longer weak. The ignored world was building something in silence. The ignored world was preparing to step into the galaxy not as a joke, but as a storm, and when that storm came, every empire would remember the day they ignored Earth. While the galaxy mocked Earth, deep inside the planet something else was happening. Hidden far away from open eyes, preparations had already begun. Humans were not shouting in councils, not waving flags in space. They were quiet, they were patient, and their silence was heavier than any fleet of war. Underground cities that did not exist on any map were alive with light. Engineers worked around the clock, their hands moved fast across steel and circuits. Designs that seemed impossible were being built in secret chambers. What the galaxy thought was weakness was in truth a mask hiding strength. Ships were not built in the normal yards near Earth's orbit. Instead, they were shaped inside hollowed asteroids, buried under rock, cloaked from sensors there. Thousands of workers lived for years without sunlight. Their only purpose was creation. The galaxy thought Earth's ship count was small, but in silence numbers grew like shadows multiplying. Soldiers too vanished from the eyes of the public. Families believed their sons and daughters had joined long-term research missions. But the truth was darker. They were taken to hidden bases carved into the bones of Earth itself. Mountains that seemed lifeless from the outside held training fields inside. Oceans hid domes of steel beneath the waves. The training was brutal. Soldiers were pushed beyond human limits. Every weakness was burned away. Discipline was carved into their bones. Their teachers were not generals of fame, but survivors of Earth's harsh wars. Men and women who knew the cost of underestimation. "The galaxy laughs at us," one commander told the recruits. "Good, let them laugh while they laugh. We sharpen the knife. Even in silence, mistakes happened." A faint signal was once caught by a wandering alien probe near Jupiter. It carried fragments of human code. The probe never returned. Its wreckage drifted cold in the void. No one asked why, no one cared. But those who did notice were silenced. Earth's hand had reached far enough to erase the question. In politics, Earth kept its mask. Human diplomats smiled in council halls. They agreed with alien leaders, bowed their heads and signed weak treaties. The galaxy thought them submissive in truth. Every agreement was a lie bought with time. Every bow was only a step toward the silent hour that was coming. Resources were drawn without notice. Trade routes seemed normal. But hidden among the cargo were rare metals, crystals, and fuels, all redirected toward the hidden project. Humanity's enemies laughed at their small ships in the open, never knowing that asteroids in the dark were being turned into engines of war. Among the silent projects was something even more frightening. Not just ships, but weapons. The galaxy had mocked human railguns as toys of a primitive world. But humans perfected them. They built cannons that could tear through shields and armor with a single strike. And they built them not for one ship, but for hundreds. The galaxy spoke often of honor and tradition. They believed in large fleets showing their banners. Humans cared for none of that. They cared only for survival. And survival taught them one lesson: strike hard, strike fast, and strike unseen. In dark tunnels, voices whispered, "How long must we hide?" The answer always came cold until the day they cannot laugh. Outside, life continued as if nothing had changed. Markets opened, children played, ships traveled Earth's skies. The people above knew nothing. But the chosen few who worked below felt the tension every hour. They knew the galaxy's laughter would soon turn into silence of another kind. Years of quiet work passed, and the hidden bases grew louder. Engines roared for the first time. Massive structures shook as power surged through them. Shields activated, cloaking fields tested, weapons fired into the emptiness of secret caverns. Shaking stone into dust, what was once theory was now real. Humanity's knife was sharp. Still, the leaders reminded them, not yet. The army was not ready to be seen. The silent army was not complete. The galaxy must continue to ignore Earth. Every passing day of ignorance was a gift. Every laugh was another hour of time, and so the work continued. Thousands trained, thousands built, and all of them knew one thing. They were no longer just soldiers or workers, they were shadows, waiting for the moment when shadows would rise into light. No empire saw the danger, no council feared the silence, but silence had become Earth's greatest weapon. The galaxy thought Earth was quiet because it was weak, but Earth was quiet because it was preparing. And when the silence broke, the galaxy would finally understand what had been growing in the dark. While Earth worked in silence, the galaxy was busy with its own noise. Councils met in golden halls, fleets paraded before the stars, and empires argued about territory. In all these gatherings, Earth's name was spoken only in mockery. Alien leaders laughed at the very idea of humans becoming strong. "They are a small world with small dreams," one council member declared. His voice echoed in a hall filled with hundreds of races. Laughter rolled across the chamber like thunder. To them, Earth was no more than a background planet, useful only for minor trade and cheap labor. Alien news networks spread this view. On screens across the stars, anchors mocked humanity. "Look at the humans," one host joked. "They send tiny ships into vast space and call themselves explorers." Crowds across the galaxy cheered at the insult. Comedy shows even created skits where humans begged stronger empires for scraps. To the masses, it was entertainment. At space stations near human borders, merchant captains shared jokes. "If you want to hide your goods, give them to a human," one said. No pirate would bother searching such weak cargo. Laughter filled the air. Their voices carried far, but not far enough to hear the quiet hum of engines being tested in secret. The arrogance of the empires grew stronger each year. They boasted of their fleets, their armies, and their shields. They spoke of wars they had won and battles they had survived. But when the subject of Earth came up, there was no debate, only dismissal. Humans are nothing, they said. They will always be nothing. Yet not all voices joined the laughter. Some alien scouts brought strange reports. They spoke of lights seen near hidden asteroids. They spoke of freighters disappearing close to human space. Something is happening, one scout warned. The humans are not as quiet as they seem. But his warnings were met with jokes. Perhaps the humans are practicing farming in space, one admiral replied. The council laughed again. In taverns across the galaxy, stories spread of humans who spoke of destiny. But no one listened. Aliens waved their hands and drank their wine. To them, humans were just noise, background whispers in a galaxy that belonged to others. They thought Earth's silence was fear. They never considered silence could be strategy. On Earth itself, the mockery reached human ears. Intercepted broadcasts carried the laughter of alien hosts and the jeers of alien leaders. In secret halls, human officers listened quietly. Their faces remained still, but inside them grew a cold fire. They mock us, one officer whispered. Then let them mock, replied another. Mockery costs them time, and time belongs to us. The galaxy's arrogance blinded them. They wasted their focus on each other. Empires fought endless wars over small moons and resource belts. Their fleets burned in battles that decided nothing. While they wasted ships, humans built more. While they shouted speeches, humans spoke none. A famous alien general once declared, "The humans are no more dangerous than children with sticks." His words were carved into monuments across his empire. The crowd laughed and cheered, but years later, those words would be remembered not as wisdom, but as the biggest mistake of his life. The galaxy's markets too joined the mockery. Products from Earth were sold as primitive crafts. Human technology was considered second class. Even human art was mocked as childish. Paintings and music from Earth were displayed as curiosities, never as treasures. All of this gave the galaxy comfort. The more they laughed, the safer they felt. But mockery is a double-edged blade. The more they ignored the signs, the stronger Earth became. The galaxy's arrogance gave humans the one resource they needed most, time, and while the empires laughed, time was exactly what Earth used one night. An alien poet stood before a crowd and said, "Humans are quiet, too quiet. Perhaps the stars are hiding something." The audience roared with laughter. They threw coins at the poet and shouted for another joke. No one understood that his words were the closest to truth they had ever heard. Inside the hidden chambers of Earth, those same words were remembered. Humans knew the galaxy's blindness was their shield. They did not rush, they did not break cover. They only watched as the galaxy mocked louder and louder, unaware of the storm that was almost ready. For the galaxy, laughter was comfort. For Earth, laughter was fuel, and the day would come when the galaxy's laughter would die in silence. A silence filled with the shadows of 1,000 ships. The galaxy laughed for years, but laughter cannot stop the ticking of time. In the darkness between stars, time was all the humans needed. For silence was their shield, and patience was their weapon. It began without warning. A single alien patrol ship drifted near the border of Sol system. Its crew expected nothing, just another quiet night in empty space. But their sensors began to scream. Lights flared on the edge of black, outlines of shadows growing larger. One officer whispered, "A fleet." But whose fleet? Within minutes, hundreds of signals appeared. One ship, then 10, then 100, until the numbers grew beyond belief. They came out of the void like ghosts, silent, cold, and united. The alien crew froze as the shapes filled their screens, more than they had ever seen in one place. One officer whispered in terror, "That is not ours, and it is not any empire's." The fleet did not speak. No message was broadcast. No flag was raised. Only the soundless march of steel across the stars. Engines burned cold and steady. Formation perfect, not a single ship out of line. It was not the chaos of old empires. It was discipline carved into metal. Word spread like fire. Patrols sent distress calls. Councils received frantic messages. Unknown fleet, massive, unmarked. Approaching. At first the empires laughed again. A pirate armada, some said. A rumor to scare us, others claimed. But when their own scouts confirmed the numbers, laughter died in their throats. 1,000 ships moving together, silent as the void itself. Not a single alien banner, not a single alien broadcast. Only the quiet hum of engines. The galaxy began to panic. In command halls across the stars, admirals shouted, "Whose fleet is this? Which empire dares?" But every empire denied it. Fear spread as the truth sank in. This armada did not belong to any of them. It belonged to someone they had all ignored, someone they had mocked. The realization came like ice water. "Humans," one alien lord whispered. His voice shook. "Those are human ships." Silence fell upon the council chamber. For years they had called Earth weak. Now the weak had risen not with words, but with 1,000 warships. The silent army had revealed itself. The ships themselves were terrifying. Black hulls swallowed starlight, edges sharp like blades. Cannons larger than anything the galaxy had seen stretched across their frames. Energy readings spiked far beyond normal levels. Some ships bore railguns the size of towers. Others carried cloaked weapon bays that sensors could not pierce. Every detail screamed of a fleet built not for show but for war. The galaxy had always believed in fleets with banners, bright colors and proud designs. Humanity's fleet carried none of that. There were no symbols, no flags, no painted glory. Only dark steel and silent power. They looked less like ships and more like shadows carved into reality. Panic grew. Fleets were scrambled across sectors. Generals demanded answers. Spies were punished for failing to notice the buildup. But it was too late. The army was already here. Inside the flagship of the silent army, men and women stood ready. Their faces were calm, eyes hard. For them, this was not the beginning. It was the moment they had prepared for all their lives. A single order echoed across every vessel. "Hold formation." "Wait," the galaxy's leaders begged for communication. Messages were sent across every channel. "State your identity. State your purpose." The silent army gave no answer. Their silence was louder than any threat. Their presence itself was the message. Alien civilians watched from their worlds. Screens lit with images of the dark fleet. Whispers spread. "Who are they? What do they want?" And then the truth spread like fire. They are humans. Panic turned to dread, for the ignored world had risen, and it had risen in silence. The empires that once mocked humanity felt fear for the first time. They had thought Earth was weak. They had thought Earth was small. But now Earth stood before them with 1,000 blades of steel, silent and ready. On the edge of every world, voices whispered, "If humans could build this without us knowing, what else have they built?" No answer came. Only the shadows of warships filled the skies. The galaxy had laughed. The galaxy had mocked. Now the galaxy trembled, and in the silence of 1,000 ships, the age of humanity had begun. The galaxy had fallen silent. No laughter now, no jokes, no songs mocking Earth. The images of 1,000 ships filled every broadcast, every station, every council chamber. The ignored world had become the shadow over them all. On the human flagship, the crew waited, their faces calm, their voices steady. They had trained for this moment in silence for years. Now silence itself was their weapon. Across the fleet, soldiers stood ready at their posts, not with fear but with resolve. The galaxy had never seen discipline like this. Alien empires tried to respond. Fleets were scrambled. Generals shouted orders. And admirals rushed to form defenses, but their movements were messy. They had spent too long fighting each other. Their ships were scattered. Their alliances broken by greed and pride. They were not ready for a united enemy. One alien leader, pale with fear, whispered in council. "We thought them children," another replied in a shaking voice. "Children do not build armies like this." For the first time, the galaxy realized its mistake. They had underestimated humanity, and now the price had come. The silent army did not fire first. They did not need to. Their presence was war enough. The galaxy trembled as the humans held their formation. Waiting, engines burned steady, weapons charged but quiet. The silence grew unbearable. Finally, a single broadcast cut across the stars. It came not in alien tongues, but in the simple, sharp words of humanity. A voice from the flagship spoke. "You ignored Earth. You mocked Earth. You dismissed Earth. Now you will listen." The message carried no anger. No laughter, only cold truth. It was not a threat, it was a sentence. The galaxy understood that in those words lay the future. Some empires tried to beg, sending desperate replies. "We seek peace," they said. "We did not mean harm." But humans remembered the years of insult, the years of being treated as shadows. The reckoning was not about war alone. It was about respect carved into stone. On border worlds, alien fleets gathered to resist. They thought numbers would save them. But when the silent army moved, they moved like a storm in seconds. Human railguns tore through shields once thought unbreakable. Beams of fire cut through armor. One strike from a single human ship destroyed what once took dozens of alien vessels to fight. Battles did not last long. The galaxy had relied on tradition, on pride, on show. Humanity had built for survival, for precision, for the kill. The difference was not strength alone. It was will across the stars. Alien civilians watched in terror as their empires crumbled before silent shadows. On world after world, human fleets appeared, silent until the very last second. Their cannons spoke only when needed. And when they spoke, the galaxy listened. But the reckoning was not only about destruction. Humanity was not here to burn everything. They were here to make the galaxy remember. After each victory, the same message was repeated, calm and sharp. You will no longer ignore Earth. You will no longer mock us. Humanity has risen, and we will not fall. For some, fear turned into respect. For others, hate burned deeper. But all of them understood one thing. The galaxy would never again treat Earth as nothing. The silent army of 1,000 did not stay forever in every system. They appeared, they struck, and they vanished back into the dark. Always united, always silent, like ghosts carved from shadow, and with every appearance, more and more voices in the galaxy whispered the same words. Do not provoke the humans. The galaxy that once laughed now lived in fear. And in fear, respect was born back on Earth. Leaders stood in their hidden halls. Listening to reports of victory, they did not cheer. They did not boast, they only nodded. For this was not the end, it was the beginning. Humanity had announced itself, and now the galaxy knew. The reckoning was complete, the joke was over. The silence had spoken louder than any war cry, and in that silence, a new age had begun, the age of humanity.